What's up, everyone? Day 3 here, and we just finished tweaking. So we just got Geomancer and Painkeeper to 60. Big difference. So exact same gear, and Painkeeper went up about 20,000 HP. It's huge. I actually had to decrease some of his HP and boost up some of Frozen Banshees. They are only, I think, a couple hundred apart. Banshee being a little bit higher. So I'm actually going to see, but a huge defense difference. I want to actually see if that's good enough. Still weak affinity, so it should be good enough. And of course, we had the lower speed. So I'm going to run through the stats after this run. It should work. Setup-wise, it's actually a little different because we need to change it up a bit to make Painkeeper work with Geomancer. So we're going to actually start with the A3 on Maneater and an A1 on Painkeeper. We'll take a hit, that's fine. We'll use the A2. We could have held on that A2, but that's fine. We'll set it up later. We're going to hold off on that. So A1 on Geomancer, A2 on Maneater, which is the most important. We're going to hold off. And then Painkeeper A1 again. Okay, so 2 A1s for Painkeeper. We'll take that hit. Now, Rosin A1, Maneater A1, Geomancer A1 again, and then Painkeeper is going to throw the heal up, and stun went on the right person. Perfect. All right, so A1 here, Banshee is going to actually use the A3. Rosin should be using the A2 at this point. So we're going to hold off on it one more turn. Then we're going to reset it all. Geomancer will burn. And then Maneater will block. A3. Okay, so we're going to do one more round. After the next stun, we should be on full auto. We'll put up some poisons. Painkeeper A1 on turn 5, A1 Maneater, A1 Rosin, Geomancer A1, and Painkeeper heal. Alright, so we are now on full auto. We're going to let this run to the end. We're going to run this to the end and just to see how the team does. Again, so just Frozen Banshee is the weak affinity here. Otherwise, I have 2 force affinities. To make sure we get the poison because she is weak affinity, we would ideally want to put a toxic set on Rosin. And that way we're getting that additional poison out when she's actually failing. So at this point, all she's good for is a little bit of damage and the odd heal, or sorry, the odd poison, and to take the stun. That's really all she's good for at this point. So ideally, if we can beef up Rosin and Geomancer for damage and the other 2 for damage, it would be a lot easier. So let this run. We'll catch you all at the end. All right, so the first night we were able to get what was it, 37 mil. This night, again, look at Frozen Banshee, only 2 million damage. I'm sure we could find a better damage dealer in the mix, but Geomancer pulled in 26 million damage by himself, right? So if we can look to optimize Maneater and Painkeeper for damage, get some more damage on there, keeping their speed the way it's at. Razin, put him in a toxic set because clearly Frozen Banshee doesn't do much. I think this team can easily be over 40-45 mil very easily. So there you have it. It at least works. We're about 15 mil more than we were before. Previously it was about 2 mil a key. Now we're looking at a full 36 mil. And what's it going to really cost us? About 50 to 100k a day. Just a gear swap for that Slow Eater. Now, the Stun Eater. Now, in saying that, because we're dealing with 2 Force Affinity champions, if the boss does go Spirit, we're going to have an issue with Frozen Banshee being strong Affinity. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to have to find ourselves we're going to have to beef up, first of all, Geomancer's defense. That's number 1. But number 2, we're going to have to find a Force Affinity Stun Eater. And we're going to have to remove Razin for a Spirit or Magic Affinity Poisoner. So this is where having a second Frozen Banshee, having a piece where we can easily make her, from 115 back up to 170. So we're looking at, finding ourselves 60 speed. That's not easy to do. Having an Annex in the mix, or a Feign even, right? If we're able to get one of them two as the poisoner part of the team, and then we also find ourselves a Force Affinity Stun Eater, then Rearguard is actually amazing at this. Rearguard is. So she also puts out that Ally Protect, so she will actually take all that damage, lower her health right to 0 right at the beginning. And that way she's always low. She doesn't do much damage, which is fine. But she's constantly putting that Ally Protect out to keep her HP low, which is what you kind of want. But another good Stun Eater in herself. And then we just need to replace Razin with another Spirit or Magic Affinity champion. And that's the only real change that we need to worry about. If the boss goes Magic, this team works. If the boss goes Spirit, we're going to have to replace the DD and the Stun Eater. And if the boss goes Force, this is the same team we're doing. So Force and Magic, we have the team set for us. It's only really Spirit that we're going to have to worry about with a setup like this. All right, there you have it. A lot of info. Let me break down the stats of this team. So I'm going to have it in the link below. We didn't go with the ultimate Budget Unkillable. We just went the Budget Unkillable. But we did have to make one small tweak in order to get Geomancer to work. And so here it is. I'm going to show you it now. So here's actually an update run the next day with all the champions having War Master and some gear tweaks as well. And as you can see, we got quite a bit more damage out of them, almost 10 million more. All right. So here it is. So we'll start here. 240 to 241 is Maneater, no more, no less. 218 to 222 is Painkeeper. I have it at 220 right in the middle. You have 2 DPSs, 175 to 178. They are important to know which is which. And then the Stun Eater for Brutal and for Ultra Nightmare is 118 to 111. But for Nightmare, it's 121 even. Okay? So in a case like this, for this team, you just need to really replace one piece to get that difference, because we're talking about anywhere from like 5 to 8 speed difference. That could be very well one piece that you just swap out, and if you got speed boots, just swap it out with a lower upgraded speed boot kind of idea and go from there. So that is the team. Now, Here for Nightmare, we went with an A1, A3 on Maneater, an A3, A1, A1, A2 on Painkeeper. However, and here's the issue. Here, A3, A1, A2 on Painkeeper for Ultra Nightmare. Right? A3, A1, A2 for Painkeeper. Geomancer will never have his A3 up. Right there, as you can see. Right? So when the boss, after the boss stuns, Geomancer will have the A3 up for the first round, but then he'll never have it up again. And that is because Painkeeper is refreshing before Geomancer uses the skill, which is putting it on one less cooldown, which means he's always going to use it on that second turn, no matter what you do. Okay? So what we need to do is delay Painkeeper's A3 by 3 turns. Turn meter doesn't change, but what it ends up doing is we are going to refresh and then have Geomancer use that burn. So the Geomancer never is affected by that refresh skill. And by doing that, we are always going to have, when the boss hits twice on that first turn and the second turn, we are always going to have burn on the boss, which means we are getting the maximum amount of damage out of Geomancer. If we followed the setup the way it was listed, it's not going to work for Geomancer. So we do have to make a small tweak. And that's the recommendation by using the speed calculator, understanding how it works, and click the video above, and you'll see how I break down how the calculator works. But knowing what you're actually looking at here, and let me zoom out so you can kind of see it as a whole. So you can see when we talk about it being in sync, you can see that every first turn is the same kind of setup. Every second and every third is the exact same. You do want this heal to happen right before the stun. And that heal just pushes, because everyone's got 0 HP at this point, right? That pushes everyone's HP up, except for your Stun Eater is going to be the lowest right now. And so that's why the boss is going to attack them. They got the lowest defense. They got the lowest HP out of everybody. They're going to go ahead and get the hit. Plus putting them in the lead also helps. So that is why the A2 is still important on right before the stun. But you do need to delay Painkeeper's A3 for 3 turns for Ultra Nightmare in order to make it work. Okay? And there is a delay for Nightmare and Brutal as well. So you just got to play around with the calculator to see it. So there you have it. That is the budget Maneater. So all 3 bosses have the same composition. The turns are listed here, a little bit different. So for Spirit Affinity, you just need to delay Painkeeper's A2 until turn count 5. So just delay it by 1 turn. Because we are taking a slow, so we just want to make sure that we're delaying that heal for that extra A1, so that we are supplementing that slow with an increased turn meter. So it's kind of a balance out, and that is important here. Alrighty, although it's recommending that everyone goes auto, you do need to delay some turns. For example, Geomancer, in a case like this, we are delaying his burn for 2 turns so that it goes properly in sync. All right. Frozen Banshee can be any poisoner. It doesn't really matter. The more poisons we can get out on the boss, the better it is. So there's no harm in refreshing a poison and having it up more. And Banshee, she's only hitting twice, and that's why I actually want to delay her A3 by 1 turn, so that we are A3ing on the first turn, and then we are A1ing, which means we are putting up those poisons on the second turn, because the third turn, she's not attacking at all. And then again, because we don't have an ally or a counter-attacker as part of the team, getting those counter-attack masteries on these champions also will help push up that damage. So there you have it. Hopefully that helps. It took a while to get this set up. It was very difficult, but once we got these champions to 60, It became a breeze, so much easier. It's very difficult to set up a team like this if your champions aren't ready. Now, in saying that, we still got some room to go. We still got to get our masteries and get War Master on all these champions, and that will help us boost our damage as well. We need to get a couple more champions ready for different affinities. But other than that, we're ready to go. Catch you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.